So apparently after having to delay the new James Bond movie multiple times, MGM is pretty much bankrupt and is looking to sell all of their assets. If only MGM owned some kind of, television property which they could have used to generate additional income rather than putting all their eggs in the basket of James Bond. Despite news of Roland Emmerich wanting to reboot Stargate from a while ago, and Joseph Malozzi always trying to generate hype for a new show, it's likely we'll never see a new Stargate thing on our screens anytime soon. And some would say that's perhaps a good thing. We should be focusing on creating new sci-fi shows rather than resurrecting old ones, which is a sentiment I agree with. But since reading the news about MGM, it got the ball rolling in my brain, and pretty randomly an idea for a new Stargate show materialized in my mind. So I thought, just for fun, why not make a pitch video of sorts as a kind of hypothetical scenario. So here's my idea for a new Stargate show. First of all, however, a shameless plug. It seems a lot of folks still don't know I have other channels aside from this one. An entertainment channel called Grindhouse Media, where myself and friends talk about movies and shows aside from just Star Trek, although I do sometimes force them to watch things like that anyway. Our primary series is the Watch Party series, where we riff on movies and TV episodes for a laugh. Everything from infamously bad to complete schlock, and even movies we actually like as well. I also have a gaming channel called SideQuest, in which we do video essays, gameplays, and coming soon, some reviews. Both of these channels are still early days, but it's been really fun experimenting with the kind of content we produce on them. There's lots of good stuff coming in the new year, so be sure to follow the links below and subscribe so you can be the first to watch. With that out of the way, let's jump into the video. Now, the big question for many fans when it comes to a new Stargate show or movie is, will it be a continuation of what's come before, or will it start from scratch? I think there's a way to do a soft reboot of sorts which will carry over many elements from older shows, but also serve as a new jumping on point for newcomers. So if you'll indulge me, here is the basic concept I've come up with for a new Stargate show. Allow me to set it up, and then I'll explain why I believe it's a good idea and the best for the franchise moving forward. Our new show begins on the planet Earth, but not the Earth we know today. Some years prior to this new series, a new overwhelmingly powerful alien force has conquered the planet and most of the Milky Way galaxy. And I'm not talking about a Goa'uld type thing, I'm imagining something far more esoteric and vast, like the Combine from Half-Life 2, or the various entities from the Cthulhu mythos. In fact, for the sake of simplicity, let's call this new enemy the Lovecraftians. Our new protagonist is a Daniel Jackson Samantha Carter type, a highly intelligent person with some kind of scientific expertise, but also someone who could handle themselves if need be. They live their life under the oppressive rule of the Lovecraftians, keeping their head down and trying to survive. But through some classic inciting incident, refusing the call, answering the call, hero's journey stuff, our protagonist falls in with a ragtag resistance group who we later discover are what remains of the SG teams. By the end of the first episode, the protagonist and this last SG team infiltrates a ruined military base and uncovers the original Stargate. With Lovecraftian forces hot on their heels, they activate the gate and leap through, planting a bomb to destroy the base and bury the gate once again after they're gone. The team then find themselves in another galaxy beyond the reach of the Lovecraftians. Now with access to the vast Stargate network, our heroes travel the universe gathering allies, weapons, and resources to one day take the fight back to the Lovecraftians and liberate the galaxy. There you go, that's my idea. It may seem a little simple, but before anyone starts typing potentially nasty comments, allow me to explain why I think this works. As I said, I think another new show should serve as a jumping on point for new fans. And much like how the 2005 Doctor Who revival chose not to jettison decades of history, but instead had the new companion Rose discovering that history, we could do the same with this show. But you may ask, why the Lovecraftian conquerors? Why not just have a new character join the SG team and explore like before? Well, that's because we've seen that already. Beyond the initial wonder of a new character joining the Stargate program, we'd pretty much be back to doing what SG-1 did for 10 seasons. With this new threat to the galaxy, we create a sense of urgency and an end goal for the show to build toward achieving. Newcomers could be intrigued as this new SG team rediscovers old elements and even old characters from the previous shows. It would be great to see what Daniel, Jackson, and Teal'c and so on are up to. We could have a Rodney-type character who could rattle off some backstory in a fun way and then enjoy these past elements in a new story. That doesn't mean every episode should be constant callbacks to the previous shows, but there's a healthy balance which could be struck with this. Long-time fans will get a kick out of seeing what's become of this fictional universe, and newcomers can enjoy exploring that same universe on new adventures. The first season could echo the overall journey the Stargate franchise went through as well. It went from a small team exploring new worlds and episodic adventures to an epic space opera with season-spanning arcs. This new show could accomplish the same, but once again in a new context. We start with a small team visiting new worlds with the ostensible goal of gathering allies, but this time there's a hint of desperation. This SG team wouldn't have the security of a home base like Stargate Command or Atlantis. In a way, it would actually be similar to the situation the characters in Stargate Universe were in. But gradually, as this team builds up its resources, we'd once again have those awesome space battles and large-scale action set pieces, although this time it's even more rewarding considering how little this new team would have when they start. What I also think would be cool is to have ongoing storylines back on Earth, under the rule of these Lovecraftians, to further remind the audience of what's at stake here. By the end of this new show, when the galaxy is liberated, you'd also have the benefit of the Stargate program finally becoming public. I know that's something a lot of longtime fans have always wanted to see, but I feel like just doing a public announcement and then cutting to 100 years later isn't as interesting as many people would think. Doing that would essentially just turn Stargate into a more standard space opera setting, which could still be good, but not quite as special. What makes Stargate fun is its sense of discovery and its link to our real world. It's fun to imagine that somewhere outside of everyday life, there's someone off having space adventures in some other sci-fi world. So this new show would have that other outlandish sci-fi world intrude in our real one in a surprising way, rather than simply having it announced in some big press conference. Now, what exactly these Lovecraftians will turn out to be, who the new characters are, which allies they'll gather and so on, if you want to know that, whoever ends up owning the Stargate franchise can pay me to write it. For now, I just thought this was a fun idea to explore. Do you like my idea? Do you hate it? Do you have your own idea? Let me know in the comments below. Quantum Fire asks, in Mr. Morden voice, what do you want? More storage space. Michael Lewis asks, what sci-fi property would benefit most from an animated entry? All of them. Animation is a medium after all, not a genre. And animation is uniquely positioned to deliver the kind of sci-fi spectacle and outlandish ideas which are often difficult to do on a live-action TV show budget. We've already seen just how imaginative and colourful worlds and aliens and ships can be in shows like Lower Decks or Rick and Morty, because they aren't confined to the practicalities of live-action filmmaking. It costs just as much to depict an alien city in animation as it does to depict an ordinary Earth-based one. There's just so much freedom. Next month, I'm actually making a video about the show Final Space and how the warped perception of what animation is for in the West is largely holding a lot of shows back. I really like Lower Decks, but there's no reason we can't have a straight-laced sci-fi show which isn't a comedy and isn't made quote-unquote for kids. So in terms of which sci-fi property would benefit from an animated entry, all of them, literally all of them. It's like asking which property would benefit from having novels written for them. All of them would. I think the potential of animation in science fiction is really untapped in Western media. The Bonus Studios asks, if you could write and direct a film, what would it be? I'm not sure if you're asking me about my own films or established franchises I'd be keen on. If it's the latter, I'd do Star Trek and or Superman in a heartbeat. Naturally, I'm a total nerd who has thought all about this and even written down vague notes should it ever happen one day. When it comes to my own films, I mean, I have a stack of movies I want to make. If I told you all about them, we'd be here all day. I was actually in production of a feature horror movie, which I've had to put on hold because of the whole COVID-19 pandemic. I'm hoping to get that off the ground again later this year. I believe I've mentioned this before, but my goal is to make filmmaking my career, not YouTube. In fact, I'll be stopping doing YouTube full-time for certain in about 5 years. I don't want to be doing this in my 30s. My plan is for other hosts to take over my channels and create online content while I go and make movies under the same company. It's early days, obviously, but I'm in the process of getting my foot in the door. Next month, I'm actually starting a collaborative series of videos where I talk to guests about their creative processes when it comes to writing and filmmaking. I've already recorded the first 2 videos of that series, and I'm currently seeking out some more guests. So stay tuned if you want some more details about the various projects I have hidden away in my desk drawer. Thank you for watching. If you like these videos, subscribe and hit the bell icon to stay up to date on my new uploads. If you want to help the channel grow, join my patrons or my YouTube members, where you can see videos early as well as some other exclusive content. Speaking of which, I'd like to quickly thank all of my patrons and members who are now appearing on screen. Have a good one, and as always, live long and prosper.